October 29, 1965. A man walks into a cafe on Boulevard Saint-Germain in Paris. He orders coffee, lights a cigarette, and waits. He does not know that within the hour, he will disappear from the face of the earth. His name is Mehdi Ben Barka, and he is one of the most dangerous men in North Africa. Not because he carries a weapon, but because he carries ideas. Ideas that threaten kings, challenge empires, and could completely reshape the political map of a vast continent. And today, those ideas will cost him everything. Ben Barka is a mathematics teacher turned revolutionary, a man who helped liberate Morocco from French colonial rule, only to turn against the monarchy he helped install. He is wanted by his own government, hunted by French intelligence, and about to become the target of one of the most audacious covert operations in Cold War history. An operation so secret that even the agents executing it do not fully understand whose orders they are following. An operation involving everything from fake identities to luxury yachts and a cynical diplomatic deal that would remain classified for years. This is not a story about heroes. It is a story about what happens when nations decide that one man's life is worth less than their strategic interests. It is a story about betrayal, about the invisible wars fought in shadows, and about how easily a human being can vanish when powerful people decide he should not exist. The Revolutionary. Mehdi Ben Barka was born in 1920 in Rabat, the capital of what was then French Morocco. His family was not wealthy, but they valued education, and young Mehdi excelled in school. He studied mathematics, earning a degree that should have led to a quiet life as a teacher. But Morocco in the 1940s was not a place where intelligent men could remain quiet. The French ruled Moroccans with an iron fist, treating them as second-class citizens in their own land. This fueled deep resentment. Over time, that anger simmered, boiled, and eventually erupted. Ben Barka joined the independence movement in his 20s. He was not a soldier, not a guerrilla fighter, but an organizer. He understood that revolutions are not won with guns alone, but with ideas, with networks, with the slow, patient work of building a movement that cannot be crushed by force. He became a key figure in the Istiklal Party, the main independence organization, and worked closely with Sultan Mohammed V, who would later become King Mohammed V after independence. In 1956, Morocco finally won its freedom. The French withdrew, and the Sultan became king. It should have been a moment of triumph for Ben Barka. He had spent years fighting for this day, risking imprisonment and death. But independence did not bring the society he had envisioned. The monarchy consolidated power and sidelined the revolutionaries who had fought for independence. Land reform stalled. Corruption spread. In the new government, only the faces had changed, yet it looked disturbingly similar to the old colonial administration. Ben Barka could not stay silent. He began criticizing the king, calling for radical reforms, for true democracy, for redistribution of wealth. He formed a new political faction, the National Union of Popular Forces, which attracted students, intellectuals, and workers who felt betrayed by the direction the country was taking. In the eyes of the monarchy, he was not a loyal opponent, but a threat. In 1963, he was accused of plotting against the king, a charge he never accepted. He fled Morocco before he could be arrested, and thus began a life in exile that would last until the end of his life. From Paris, Ben Barka continued his work. He wrote, he organized, he traveled across Africa and the Middle East building alliances with other revolutionary movements. He became a symbol of Third World resistance, a man who refused to accept that independence meant simply replacing European colonizers with local dictators. He attended conferences in Cairo, Havana, and Algiers, where he had the opportunity to meet leaders such as Che Guevara and Ahmed Ben Bella. He dreamed of a united socialist Africa, independent of both Western capitalism and Soviet domination. Because of this vision, he was seen as a danger to everyone. King Hassan II of Morocco wanted him dead. Not arrested, not tried, but erased. Ben Barka in exile was still Ben Barka, still writing, still speaking, still inspiring opposition. As long as he lived, he was a threat. But killing him would not be simple. He lived in France, under the protection of French law, and murdering a political dissident on French soil would create an international scandal. The operation needed to be subtle, deniable, and most importantly, it required the assistance of someone with the expertise to make a person disappear, quietly, and without leaving a trace. 4. The Alliance. Israel, in the 1960s, was a young country surrounded by enemies. Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, all publicly committed to its destruction. The Arab world refused to recognize Israel's right to exist, and Israel responded with a strategy called the Periphery Doctrine. If the Arab states were hostile, Israel would build alliances with neighboring countries that were not Arab: Iran, Turkey, Ethiopia, and most critically, Morocco. Morocco was not an obvious ally. It was an Arab state, a Muslim monarchy, and officially, it supported the Palestinian cause. But King Hassan II was a pragmatist. He feared his own population more than he feared Israel. The memory of independence was still fresh, and with it, the memory of revolutionaries like Ben Barka, who believed that kings were relics of a feudal past. Hassan needed allies, and not just any allies. He needed allies who could help him eliminate threats before they became uncontrollable. Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence service, had been watching Morocco for years. They had identified Hassan as a potential partner, someone who might be willing to cooperate quietly, behind the scenes, in ways that would never be made public. The relationship began with small exchanges of information and mutual gestures of goodwill. But by 1965, it had grown into something far more substantial. Hassan had a problem. Ben Barka, based in Paris, organizing the opposition and maintaining deep ties with radical groups across Africa. Mossad, however, had a solution. Or rather, Mossad knew the people who could provide one. The proposal was elegant in its simplicity. Ben Barka would be lured out of France under a false pretext, transported to a location where Moroccan agents could take custody of him, and from there, he would be taken back to Morocco. What happened after that was not Israel's concern. Mossad would not pull the trigger, would not torture, would not execute. They would ensure the operation remained covert, provide logistical support, and facilitate the transfer. Plausible deniability would be maintained for everyone involved. But why would Israel help Morocco kill a revolutionary who had nothing to do with Israel? The answer was strategic. Hassan had something Israel wanted: intelligence cooperation, quiet diplomatic channels, and access to North Africa. Helping him eliminate Ben Barka would demonstrate Israel's value as an ally, would create a debt that could be called in later. It was cold calculus, the kind of decision that intelligence agencies make when human lives are reduced to pieces on a chessboard. The operation was approved at the highest levels in Tel Aviv. Not by Mossad alone, but by the political leadership that understood the long-term value of cultivating relationships with Arab monarchs, willing to ignore ideology in favor of survival. Ben Barka's life became a bargaining chip in a transaction that had nothing to do with justice and everything to do with power. The trap. The man who approached Ben Barka in late October 1965 called himself Georges Figon. He was French, charming, and claimed to be a documentary filmmaker working on a project about decolonization. He wanted to interview Ben Barka, to capture his insights on film, to share his vision with a global audience. It was exactly the kind of opportunity Ben Barka could not refuse. He believed in the power of ideas, considered spreading his message essential, and found the opportunity to reach a wider audience irresistible. Figon was not what he seemed. He was a small-time criminal, a con artist who had been recruited by French intelligence officers, working in collaboration with Moroccan agents. He had no interest in documentaries, no passion for decolonization. He was playing a role, reading from a script written by people he had never met. His job was simple: gain Ben Barka's trust, arrange a meeting, and deliver him to a specific location at a specific time. On October 29th, Figon invited Ben Barka to meet at the Brasserie Lip on Boulevard Saint-Germain. It was a public place, busy with students and intellectuals, the kind of environment where Ben Barka felt safe. Over coffee, they exchanged ideas about the documentary project, and Figon explained that the next step would be a meeting with the producer, a wealthy backer who wanted to ensure the project had the necessary resources. The meeting was to take place later that afternoon, at a villa in the suburbs. Ben Barka agreed. What Ben Barka did not know was that the villa belonged to a French intelligence officer who had been working with Moroccan agents for months. Inside that villa, Moroccan security personnel were waiting. The plan was to subdue him there, sedate him if necessary, and transport him to a yacht waiting at a private marina on the Mediterranean coast. From there, the yacht would sail into international waters where Moroccan agents could assume full control without violating French sovereignty. The meeting at the villa went exactly as planned. Ben Barka arrived, was led inside, and within minutes, he realized something was wrong. The men inside were not filmmakers. They did not ask questions about decolonization. They moved with the efficiency of professionals, grabbing him before he could react, forcing him into a chair, binding his wrists. He shouted, demanded to know what was happening, but no one answered. A cloth soaked in chloroform was pressed against his face, causing him to lose consciousness. When he woke, he was in a moving vehicle. The light outside suggested it was evening. His head throbbed, his wrists were still bound, and the men around him spoke in Arabic, a dialect he recognized as Moroccan. He understood then what had happened. He had been betrayed, not by a foreign government, but by his own. Hassan had reached across borders, across oceans to bring him back. France, the country that had granted him asylum, had allowed it to happen. The yacht. The Mediterranean coast near Marseille is dotted with private marinas where the wealthy keep their yachts away from the crowded public docks. One of these marinas, small and discreet, had been rented weeks in advance by a company that existed only on paper. The yacht itself was a modest vessel, large enough to be comfortable, but not ostentatious enough to attract attention. It had been chartered under a false name, paid for with cash that could not be traced, and staffed by a crew who asked no questions because they were paid not to. Ben Barka was brought aboard after midnight, when the marina was deserted. He was conscious but disoriented, still feeling the effects of the sedative. The men who carried him below deck were professionals, Moroccan intelligence officers who had been trained in interrogation and detention. They placed him in a small cabin, locked the door, and posted a guard outside. The yacht's engine started, and within minutes it was moving away from the coast, out into open water. The plan was to sail into international waters where French law no longer applied and transfer Ben Barka to a Moroccan military vessel that would be waiting at a pre-arranged location. From there, he would be taken to Morocco, where his fate would be decided by the king. The entire operation had been meticulously planned to leave no trace, no clue that could link Morocco or Israel to his disappearance. As far as the world was concerned, Mehdi Ben Barka had vanished, but something went wrong. Figon, the con artist who had lured Ben Barka into the trap, began talking. He had been paid, but not enough to buy his silence. He told friends about the operation, hinted that he had been involved in something big, something dangerous. The rumor spread quickly through Paris's criminal underworld and eventually reached journalists who understood its significance. Within days, French newspapers began reporting that Ben Barka had been kidnapped and that French intelligence might have been involved. The scandal erupted faster than anyone had anticipated. The French government, caught off guard, launched an investigation. Moroccan diplomats denied any involvement, claiming that Ben Barka was a fugitive who had been plotting against his own country. Israeli officials said nothing, maintaining the silence that is standard procedure for intelligence operations. But the damage had already been done, and the operation that was meant to remain secret had become international news. The aftermath. Mehdi Ben Barka was never seen again. His body was never found, no grave was ever located, and no official confirmation of his death was ever issued. The most widely accepted theory is that he was killed shortly after being taken aboard the yacht, either during the voyage or immediately after being transferred to Moroccan custody. According to some accounts, he was tortured and interrogated about his contacts and plans before being executed. Others claim that the sedatives used to subdue him played a role in his death. The truth, however, remains hidden in archives that may never be opened again. The French investigation revealed the outlines of the conspiracy, but could not penetrate its core. Several French intelligence officers were arrested and tried, but they claimed they had been acting on orders from superiors who were never identified. Figon, the man who had lured Ben Barka into the trap, was found dead in his apartment in January 1966. Officially, his death was ruled a suicide. Authorities stated that he had shot himself, but many believed he was killed to prevent further truths from coming to light. Morocco's role was undeniable, but King Hassan II faced no consequences. He denied everything, dismissed the accusations as propaganda from his enemies, and continued ruling for another 3 decades. His relationship with Israel remained intact, growing stronger over the years as both countries found common cause in opposing Arab radicalism. The Ben Barka operation appeared to strengthen the alliance rather than damage it. Hassan demonstrated how willing he was to take harsh measures against his enemies, while Israel proved its value as a partner. Israel's involvement was harder to confirm. Mossad never acknowledges operations publicly, and the Israeli government maintained that it had no role in Ben Barka's disappearance. But leaks over the years, testimony from intelligence officers who later broke their silence, and documents declassified decades later, painted a clear picture. Mossad had assisted in coordinating the operation, provided logistical support, and ensured that Moroccan agents could move covertly through Europe. It was not an Israeli operation, but it would have been difficult to succeed without Israel's assistance. The operation left scars that lasted for generations. In Morocco, Ben Barka became a martyr, a symbol of resistance against tyranny. His name was invoked by opposition movements demanding democracy and human rights. Books were written about him, films were made, and his face appeared on posters at protests. The monarchy banned discussion of his disappearance and tried to erase his memory over time, but it could not silence the questions lingering in everyone's mind. What happened to him? Who gave the orders? And why did the world allow it to happen? In France, the scandal damaged the reputation of French intelligence and exposed the hypocrisy of a government that claimed to uphold human rights while cooperating in political assassinations. It contributed to growing distrust of institutions, to the sense that official narratives could not be trusted. The Ben Barka affair became a reference point for later scandals, a reminder that states commit crimes and then lie about them. For Israel, the operation was a reminder that alliances come with costs. Helping Hassan eliminate Ben Barka secured Morocco's cooperation, but it also tied Israel to a regime that would later be accused of widespread human rights abuses. It was the kind of moral compromise that intelligence agencies make routinely, the decision that strategic interests outweigh ethical considerations. Whether that calculation was correct remains a matter of debate. The legacy. Decades after his disappearance, Mehdi Ben Barka's story refuses to fade. His family has never stopped seeking answers, filing lawsuits, demanding investigations, refusing to accept that justice will never be served. In 2018, Morocco's King Mohammed VI, the son of Hassan II, acknowledged for the first time that Ben Barka had been killed while in detention. This carefully crafted statement confirmed what everyone already knew, yet crucial questions remained unanswered. The operation that took his life was not unique. It was part of a pattern, a Cold War reality where borders meant nothing to intelligence agencies pursuing targets they deemed dangerous. The same logic that justified taking Ben Barka from Paris, justified taking Nazi war criminals from Argentina, Soviet defectors from Vienna, and Palestinian militants from Beirut. The method varied, but the principle remained constant. When states decide someone should not exist, they find ways to make it happen. What makes Ben Barka's case particularly striking is the sheer number of parties involved: French intelligence, Moroccan security forces, Israeli operatives, and criminal intermediaries, all playing roles in a conspiracy that spanned multiple countries. This was a reminder that covert operations are not the work of a single agency, but rather the result of collaborations between governments pursuing overlapping interests. And when such operations do not go as planned, no one wants to take responsibility, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions for the victims' families. The yacht that carried Ben Barka out of French waters was sold years later, its history unknown to the new owners. The villa where he was captured changed hands multiple times, becoming an ordinary residence with no plaque, no memorial, nothing to mark what happened there. The men who carried out the operation either died or disappeared into retirement, taking their secrets with them. History moved on as it always does, and only the families of the disappeared remember. But remembering matters. Every disappeared person represents a failure of justice, a moment when power triumphed over law, when human life was reduced to a problem to be solved. Mehdi Ben Barka was not the first, and he was not the last. But his story endures because it captures something essential about the world we live in. A world where nations cooperate quietly, where dissidents can be eliminated, and where the truth is usually the first casualty in the pursuit of political expediency.